AI is, without a doubt, changing everything. But as we race to build this incredible future, we've got to stop and ask a really important question. How do we make sure the code we're writing today leads to consequences we can all actually live with tomorrow? Well, that's the whole point of AI ethics, and that's exactly what we're going to dive into.
So, to kick things off, let's start with a story. It's a bit of a cautionary tale, really, a powerful real-world case where good intentions went completely off the rails, and it shows us just how easily our own hidden flaws can creep into the machines we build. I mean, think about it for a second. Can an algorithm, just a set of instructions, a bunch of code, actually be sexist? It sounds a little crazy, right? Well, it's the exact question a team of engineers at one of the biggest companies in the world had to face when their shiny new project went completely sideways.
Okay, so picture this. It's 2014. Amazon decides it's going to build this game-changing tool to automate hiring. The idea was great on paper. Let an AI read through thousands of resumes and just pick out the best of the best. But, as you can see from this timeline, it didn't take long before they hit a massive and, in the end, fatal roadblock. So what on earth went wrong? Well, the AI was trained on about a decade's worth of Amazon's own hiring data. And that data, it reflected a company that was, historically, dominated by men. The AI didn't invent sexism. It just learned our own patterns perfectly. It figured out that in the past, successful candidates were mostly men, so it actually started penalizing resumes that had the word women's in them, like captain of the women's chess club. It didn't just reflect a bias, it amplified it. And this right here is a textbook example of something called algorithmic bias. It's so important to understand this isn't just a technical bug or a glitch in the code. It's a moral failure that gets baked right into the system from the data it's fed. The Amazon story is this really stark reminder that AI can act like a mirror, reflecting the worst parts of our society right back at us.
But biased algorithms aren't the only ethical minefield out there. The data itself, our data, brings up another massive question. Who gets to use our digital identities, and how?
Take a look at this number, over 30 billion. I mean, that's just a staggering, almost unimaginable number. What could it possibly represent? Well, it's the number of images that just one company scraped from the internet to build one of the most controversial facial recognition databases ever created. Yep, the company is called Clearview AI. They built this incredibly powerful tool for law enforcement by just taking billions of pictures from social media, news sites, you name it. Your photos, my photos, all scraped without anyone ever asking for permission. This total lack of consent created a gigantic surveillance tool that just completely bypassed our rights.
And this kind of thing just flies in the face of these landmark data protection laws, like Europe's GDPR or the California Consumer Privacy Act. The whole ethical foundation of these laws is actually really simple, but it's so powerful. It's your data. You have the fundamental right to know how it's being used and to say yes or no.
Okay, so we've seen how things can go wrong. Pretty scary stuff. But the big question is, how do we start making it right? This next part is all about the frameworks we can use to build AI that's way more responsible.
It pretty much boils down to these three pillars. Think of them like a three-legged stool. If you kick one of the legs out, the whole thing just collapses. You absolutely need fairness in the results, transparency in how it works, and accountability for when, not if, things go wrong. So, how do you actually build for fairness? It's not just wishful thinking. Step one, it all starts with the data. If your data is biased, your AI is going to be biased. End of story. So you have to use diverse, representative data sets. Step two, you build the algorithms themselves to be fairness aware, basically programming them to look for and flag bias. And finally, step three, you can't just launch it and walk away. You have to be constantly auditing and checking the AI's results to catch new problems.
Now this gets to the heart of a huge problem. For way too long, AI has been a black box. Data goes in and answer comes out, but what happens in between? It's a total mystery. The goal is to build a glass box where we can actually see the logic and understand why the AI made the decision it did. That's the only way you earn real trust. And that brings us to our third pillar, accountability. It's so tempting to just blame the algorithm when something goes wrong, but this quote says it all. You just can't pass the buck to a machine. When an AI causes harm, the responsibility always traces back to the people who designed it, trained it, and decided to use it. And that idea of human responsibility, it's the perfect lead-in to our next big topic, the absolutely critical role that people have to play, even as the world gets more and more automated. This slide lays out a really important choice. Do we hand over the keys completely and let the AI make the final call? Or do we keep a human in the loop, where the AI assists, but a person makes the ultimate decision? In really high-stakes areas like medicine or defense, full automation is super risky. It can lead to what experts call moral disengagement, where we just outsource our own ethical judgment to the machine. Keeping a person at the helm makes sure that things like empathy and complex moral reasoning stay part of the equation.
And really, keeping humans involved isn't just about preventing mistakes. It's about striving for a much bigger goal, equity, because the people overseeing these systems are the ones who can ask the questions an AI can't, like, is this truly fair? Or who is being left behind by this decision? The goal has to be to build technology that lifts everyone up, not just a select few. All right, let's pull back for a second and look at the bigger picture. Because the conversation around AI ethics is always changing, always growing to include new and really complex challenges. One thing you have to understand is that AI ethics isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. Context is absolutely everything. So in healthcare, the core ethical rule is do no harm, and patient privacy is king. But if you shift over to law enforcement, the focus changes to things like justice and protecting civil liberties. You can't just copy and paste the same ethical rules everywhere. But the ethical questions don't stop with people. We're now starting to ask another vital, forward-looking question about what this technology is costing our planet. Here's the truth, and it's something most of us never think about. Training these giant AI models takes an absolutely enormous amount of electricity, and that energy has to come from somewhere, often from burning fossil fuels. This brings up a whole new ethical problem: sustainable AI. Our responsibility isn't just to each other, but to the health of our planet too. So with all of this complexity, whose job is it to figure it all out? Well, this slide shows it perfectly. It's everyone's job. Getting AI ethics right is a team sport. It takes constant teamwork between the developers building the tech, the policymakers regulating it, the communities it impacts, and all of us who use it every single day. And that leaves us with this one last incredibly important question. We said before that AI is a mirror. Right now, it often reflects our flaws, our biases, our shortcomings. But it doesn't have to be that way. We have the choice, right now, to build AI that reflects our highest ideals, our aspirations for a world that's more fair, more just, and more sustainable. The choice is ours to make.